The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
Talkin' Buds Leaf Show. What's up, everybody? How you doing? I'm Rob. He's Ryan. Since we last got together, the Toronto Maple Leafs have lost 2 in a row, and it's really interesting because now we get to have the conversation that we've been sort of alluding to or hinting at in the last few episodes. I'm not angry. Like, I thought in both the Ranger game and the Capital game, they played well. Like, they played okay. Like, it's not like the point of what we've been discussing is, you know, if they mail it in, if they have another garbage effort,
yeah,
how are we gonna feel about that? And to be honest, I don't like I feel like the Washington game obviously got away from them a little bit, but with the game at MSG, they were right in it the whole way.
They could not handle a puck in MSG. It's like every time the puck was on their stick, it just bounced right off. It was a very odd, strange game, and it's funny how fast the good times can end. You know, it's just then you start. It's just now. It's like they lose a game, and then all of a sudden you're just searching for a negative thing to talk about. But it's just the fact of the matter is they were due. Like, they were just due for a couple games like this, due for 2 regulation losses. And in MSG, they couldn't handle a puck. They couldn't finish a play. They couldn't get to the middle of the ice too easily, which is a way to defend this hockey team. And then in Washington...
Is that something you think we're going to start seeing more of? Like, do you think...
Well, that's the book.
Yeah, like, do you think the jig is up, so to speak? Like, other coaches are going to start, because as you pointed out, that's a way that teams have defended them successfully in the past. So is it going to be more of that take away of the middle of the ice thing? And can you neutralize them?
100% you can neutralize them. I think every single playoff we see that really all you got to do is just clog the middle of the ice, and they have a hard time getting there. And they're going to have to figure that out. They're going to have to figure that out when it comes time. But I just, you know, they're just due for a couple L's, and that's what happened. Washington, it was the first game where they got bad goaltending.
Yes.
Like, the goaltending, there was 2 or 3 goals that should have not gone in the net. They went in the net, and it's pretty hard to overcome that. So I think if I had to just nitpick one thing, and it's exactly what we just talked about, it's just in those games, like the Ranger game, when it starts getting tight in the middle, what are you going to do to get out of it? Like, how are you gonna game plan to beat that? Like, and that's what they got to figure out.
One of the things that you and I have been critical of in this team in years past is when they can't play their style, they have a very difficult time. Like, all the best teams, like one of the ways that people have always described the Lightning in the last few years is they can beat you anyway. Like, if you want to play 6-5, they can beat you 6-5. If you want to play 2-1, they can beat you 2-1. If you want to take away time and space and play a grinding style game, they can do that too. And I think this Leaf team, like, that's going to be something that I think we should all be watching for in the coming weeks. And as we head closer to the playoffs is, you know, as much as the run through November was really great and they looked awesome, they didn't have, like, they just sort of steamrolled teams. Like, they didn't have any, like, pushback or adversity, really. Like, when's a game in that run where you were like, oh, they really, like, eked that one out? It's like, no.
I think the one in Dallas where Matt Murray had to make 1,000 saves.
Okay, good call. But other, like, they were just playing, like, out of their minds. And we've been saying, and we talked about it with Sam on Wednesday about how, like, it's not going to be like that all year.
No.
So now it's like, you're right. Take away the middle of the ice. How are you going to adjust? And can you grind out games? Can you grind out wins? Can you go in the corners? Can you win puck battles? Can you do that sort of thing, like, night in and night out?
I think they can do it. Like, I see in those losses, I see a lot of positives as well. Like the third line is
Yes.
like, when did David Kampf become a little baby goat all of a sudden? Like, where did this guy was supposed to be a defensive forward, and he does that, but this guy's streaking through the neutral zone looking like a goat. I'm like, I look at the number, I can't, because he's got the jersey tuck, and I'm looking, and I'm like, who is that? It's like David Kampf.
Yeah, I know.
Alex Kerfoot had a great game.
David Kampf makes Pierre Engvall a better hockey player.
That Pierre Engvall and Alex Kerfoot and David Kampf were fantastic against Washington.
Yeah.
They were fantastic. They were great. Like, that's a positive. The line that I thought that really struggled in those two losses was the Tavares line. The Marner and Tavares, their good play came to an end. They did not look very good 5-on-5 in either of those games. But I thought the Matthews line, Matthews had a tough night in MSG, but the Matthews line was good in Washington. And the third line's been really good. And the fourth line's just, I don't even play.
Yeah,
I don't even know they're out there half the time.
yeah, that's something they gotta get fixed heading into the.
And they miss, I think they miss Morgan Riley a little bit too for
Well,
an offensive
There's
spark.
an interesting take, because for weeks it's been, we don't need Morgan Riley.
Morgan Riley can get himself in trouble by an errant pinch, but when I see the 5-man forward power play, I hate that.
Really?
It's crap. It's no good. What other great power play does that? And none. Every single great power play in the NHL has an elite defenseman at the top. Like Edmonton kind of, like, they have McDavid, so I don't even count them. Like, if we have that guy on the ice, I don't even count that. But like, look at the Capitals. They've always had John Carlson right at the top, or before Mike Green. You look at Tampa, they have Victor Hedman at the top. When I see Mitch Marner at the top, and they almost gave up a goal too, it's like that's brutal. They got to figure that out. I hate that setup. Every time I hear them talk about it, every time I see it, I can't stand it. It's awful. They need to fix it. They need to stop doing that. I don't think Sandin's been that bad. There's just, their power play goes through weird stretches where they're great and then they suck. Like, but I never want to see a 5-forward power play ever again.
Do you think that's a little like they're outthinking themselves a little bit with that?
Yes.
Yeah, like they're like, well, let's do this.
I don't
If we've
think
got all
they're-
this firepower. Let's do this.
I don't think their lack of success has anything to do with the defensemen they put at the top. I think it's everything to do with just, they don't have a one-timer, you know? Like, they're just missing that Ovi one-timer. That Stamkos can do it. Kucherov can do it. McDavid's just so fast that it doesn't even matter.
Why can't Matthews do it?
I don't know why that guy doesn't just practice his one-timer all offseason.
He probably does.
Because it's not very good.
Yeah.
It's not a very good one-timer. I think Nylander has the best one-timer, but they don't have two dangerous shooters and two dangerous shooting positions. It's like all of them can kind of go in and wrist it, but I watched Tampa's power play, and it's Kucherov and Stamkos are on both sides. They can both blast a one-timer, so it's just a big back and forth between them until the opening comes.
Yeah.
And I find with the Leafs, I've had this problem with their power play over the past couple of years. It's just, I mean, it's not a bad power play. It's good. Sometimes they just don't have a play. It's just Marner goes in and tries to do a little slap pass. That doesn't work. They try to get it to Tavares out front, but he's too close to the goalie. Matthews doesn't have a very good one-timer. Like, Willie shoots it over the net. You know, like, it's just, even though they're so
Morgan Riley, when he's healthy, is the worst. There are few things that drive me as crazy as Morgan Riley Harry Caning it 38 feet over the net.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but I'd way rather them just be like, Sandin's gonna just pick a guy. I don't want to see Marner at the top anymore. That's brutal. It's for the amount of times that this team gives up shorthanded opportunities. You don't want 5 forwards out there, and then you just kill your whole momentum giving up a shorty.
Yeah.
And they're susceptible to those. Like, they give up a lot of shorthanded goals and a lot of shorthanded opportunities. So I don't want to see it. No more.
That was an epic rant on that might have been one of your best rants you've ever had in the history of this.
I
pod.
hated that.
That was an epic. That was like a 5-minute rant about how much you hate it.
That's how much I hate it.
Yeah,
it
you do.
sucks. It's no good.
You know who you don't hate? Connor Timmins.
He got rocked last night.
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
Yeah, he did.
welcome to the show, buddy.
But you know what though? They just kind of picked him up, and we were all kind of like, okay, Connor Timmins, don't know a whole hell of a lot about the guy, and except for the fact that he's had like a lot of injuries in his past, and like he's been pretty good.
Yeah, he could pass the puck.
Yeah, he's been pretty good.
I mean, he's been kind of put in a tough spot because I think he played a ridiculous amount of minutes in New York. Like, that's not what he should be doing, but
it is what it is.
It is kind of nice to see a defenseman have some like offensive flair. Nothing special, nothing too dramatic, but like a guy who can make a good pass through the neutral zone. So we'll see where that goes. So they're gonna have a log jam soon with people coming back. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Keefe does with the D-core.
Are you concerned at all about the goaltending coming back down to earth a little bit?
I think it always was coming back down to earth, but let's try to minimize it.
Yeah.
It's all about just managing it and minimizing
Everyone,
it.
like, they're always going to have a game like Samsonov had in Washington where he gets shelled. Like, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. Like, yes. Like, let's just make sure this doesn't become a thing.
Yeah. It's fine. It happens to everybody. Like, if you look at Shesterkin's numbers, like, he's playing better now, but he had a brutal start to the year. Like, they're going to go through a stretch. It's just, let's try to keep it as small as possible so we don't have a stretch of awful losses because of bad goaltending.
Yeah, 100%. I've been thinking about this a lot because I thought Matt Murray in his last two starts, the Calgary one and then the game at MSG, he just doesn't look as sharp. And he's a guy who I worry about, like, his confidence going a bit. He just seems like that kind of guy. And I really hope we don't get a Jack Campbell type thing where it's like a snowball rolling down the hill.
Well, just stay healthy to get out of it too. Like that's another thing. It's the expectations are so low for them because you just want them to stay healthy. So as long as they stay healthy and they're just in the net and they have the ability to get through tough stretches and have the ability to have good stretches, like that's what's most needed from these two goaltenders that they have.
Last week when I started the episode last weekend, I was like, the Leafs are 1 point behind the Boston Bruins, and you check it right now as of this recording, and they are 6 points. The Bruins don't lose.
No, they don't. And then what sucks, what absolutely sucks, is the Leafs go on just an epic tear, but they lose 2 in regulation, and then you look, and the Lightning are just, they're having as good of a stretch as they are.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
What's gonna come and bite this? What, in hindsight, even though they played very well, what's gonna bite them in the ass, even though it does help them with extra points, is they had an awful stretch in overtime. Like they win half those games, you know, like you can't go. What was it, 1-6 in OT? Like that's gonna come back to bite you at some point, even though you are picking up the extra point. But like Tampa technically only has 10 losses. The Leafs have 13.
Yeah.
So it's you get half those wins in OT.
6 OT losses, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the Bruins have 2, Tampa has 1. Yeah. They're gonna end up playing Tampa again.
Why is there a team that has to have a year like the Bruins are having right now or the Panthers had last year? It's just the Leafs are never. They seem like they're never going to have that year.
It's a bit of the Atlantic Division is a bit of the thing that Jays fans always complain about being in the AL East. It's
true.
It reminds me of the same. Like if you look at the rest of the divisions through the league, and they were talking about this on the radio earlier this week about how aside from like the Devils, the Hurricanes record's pretty good too. Aside from like the Devils, the best teams are in the Leafs division.
Well, I think the top teams are the best teams, but if you look at the wild card standings, it's all Metro teams kind of put together, but they have the 3 best teams in the conference, like Bruins, Leafs, Lightning. I know the Devils are having a good year, but Like those are the 3 best teams in the Eastern Conference.
Are you buying them? Are you buying the New Jersey Devils? Like, do you think?
Yeah, how many times they've played the Leafs this year? Twice?
Yes.
Once? They fast, good hockey team. Another team, like you look at the Rangers, right? They suck for a couple of years. They get Lafreniere, they get Kako. Non-factors.
Yeah.
Non-factors. And then I watch the Devils and they get Jack Hughes and they get Nico Hischier, and they're better.
Yeah.
They're better than those 2 guys. So it's funny how you got to luck out in the draft, man. Like if you're
But also, it takes time, right? Like we've talked a lot about William Nylander this year and how great he's looked, and that's like this is the best he's ever played. And what is this? Is this like his 6th year as pro, 5th, 6th year?
The Devils are lucky because it's like Jack Hughes is an elite skater and like skilled player, but Nico Hischier just decided wants to be the next Patrice Bergeron. So like that's kind of nice how the guys filled that role. But like if like this year, like if you're the Blackhawks or the Ducks, like you want to just tank.
Yeah.
This is the year
the Ducks
really just throw in the towel.
I'll be honest, man. We saw the Ducks on Tuesday night, or I don't think the Ducks have a choice.
Yeah, they're they're not in dead last right now though. The Blackhawks are
the Chicago Blackhawks.
See, I want to see Connor Bedard go to the Blackhawks.
Yeah, you want them.
I don't want to see him go to the Coyotes. I don't want to see him go to the Ducks or the Sharks or the Predators. Like that's brutal.
You
thank you.
You want to build the Chicago dynasty back.
Yeah, that's a team we need in the mix.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. The Leafs have a tough schedule. They've kind of a tough schedule though. Like they just played the Rangers, who were playing well. The Capitals just looked on fire too.
Yes,
That's another thing. It's just that was one of those nights where Washington, that's a big hockey team, and when they were fired up, they were rolling. They had role players getting hat tricks who haven't scored a goal all year. Like it was just that type of night.
Why does that always happen against always?
Well, I was gonna put some serious money down on Ovi scoring.
It always happens. Like it's maybe we're because we have tunnel vision with respect to the Maple Leafs, that maybe it happens to other teams too, but we just don't see it. But that some guy who's a nobody just has a huge night.
I think there is something to like. Remember when you were in minor hockey and you got to go play at like the Barry Molson Center at the time, or you got to play at a nice rink and you get all fired up.
I
think there's something to playing the Leafs,
the Toronto Maple Leafs
on Saturday night.
Yeah,
like if you're another player for another franchise, you probably hate this team. You probably hate this franchise, and you want to beat them.
Yeah, and like you're the Washington Capitals, right? And it's like, so you think guys care about that? I would agree with you. I think there's a segment of people who would hear this and say, no, it doesn't matter. It's just another game. But it's like, no, it's not another game. Like you're the guys on the Washington Capitals, and on Saturday night, like this is like the main event on Hockey Night in Canada.
I think you should just put yourself in that position. It's like, what if you're playing the Hurricanes right now? Like it is different. Yeah. Like it is different. Like the Leafs are different. So I think like Jimmy Vesey gets 2 goals.
Oh my god!
Like of course.
My god! And did you see at the end of the like Keefe scrum after the game, they asked him about that. They were like, "What do you think of Jimmy Vesey?" And he's like, "Are we done?"
That was a brutal question.
Yeah,
I will say. Like
that was salt in the wound.
I don't really know like what I would say.
They basically told Jimmy Vesey to kick rocks. Like they were like, we don't want you.
Jimmy
anymore.
Vesey was brutal.
Yeah.
Okay. Like let's not change any sort of narrative here. Like he was bad.
But then he goes out and plays really well against them at home.
Yeah, of course. He scores 2 goals, and one of them's like a beauty. Short side on Murray. Like what? I don't know what Murray was doing on that, but it just happened. Eric Gustafson,
I know,
hasn't scored a goal all year.
Some guy named Eric Gustafson goes out and has the game of his life.
Yeah, he's pinching and he's just getting he's scoring. Like what does he do? What's happening?
It always happens to them.
I know.
Hilarious.
Like there was just like the world decided there was no chance they were winning that game against the Capitals. Like, it just was not meant to be.
Do you hear that?
Well,
That sounds like the pulse of Leafs Nation.
oh,
to
there
me.
you go.
Joining us this week for episode 3 of the Pulse of Leafs Nation is another longtime Talkin' Buds listener who, as we said last week, are getting the priority to start the Pulse. Johnny Green, huge Leaf fan, longtime Talkin' Buds listener, good pal of ours, submitted this video for this week's episode of the Pulse of Leafs Nation.
All right, Rob, Ryan, super excited to be on Talking Buds Leaf Show today for the Pulse. I am a longtime diehard Leaf fan. As Rob knows, we bond over it a lot. I spent the majority of the beginning of the season talking to Rob about thinking, these guys are done. We're going to have a autopsy edition of this podcast around my fire pit, all dressed in black, talking about Dubas and how they're going to get fired. And Keefe's gone, and they're going to trade Marner. But I got to let you know, things have changed. I'm back. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I believe in this team. Had a little stumble the other night, but no big deal. Those games happen. They came out a little flat. But I think this team's got a real difference in their buying in to actual team defense, which they haven't had, I think, at any point of this entire run. It's always been run and gun. It's always been high risk chances, high reward, high risk. But you know what? I think there's something different about this team this time, and I think we could really go somewhere. So let's hope they keep going. And it's so balanced. Everything about the lineup is balanced. It seems to work. And I mean, even with Morgan Riley down, and obviously the acquired Jordy Ben, he's down as well. It's really given Liljegren and Rasmus a real good shot, and they've actually stepped up to the plate and played really well. And Hall is doing his thing where he's having a 10-game damn I'm good streak, and we'll see where that goes. But as far as I can tell is this team's looking good, and I'm very happy we are not doing an autopsy right now. We're talking about a good hockey team. So that's where I think I'm at right now with this team, and I hope they work.
Guys just rocking the NWO Wolfpack shirt in that video.
You'll see me rocking. I think I rocked it like 2
rocked,
weeks ago.
Yeah, you rocked a. I'll rock it sometimes too. I mean,
It's a nice extra large shirt that fits me.
and you got the world title
Yeah,
behind
exactly.
you. Yeah, we know
There you go.
Yeah, we're up on our pro wrestling. So Johnny Green talks about the commitment to team defense, and that's what's helped him buy back in. I can attest that you were saying at the beginning of the season you were spazzing. Johnny and I were in the same boat. We were going back and forth, and we were like, this is it. It's over. Fire Keefe, fire Dubas. I've had enough. I can't watch this anymore, whatever. And then he states there that it's the commitment to team defense, and also says what I've been saying. I completely agree with him. This is the best defensively they've ever played in this era.
Yeah, I think all the onus is on the forwards. Like the forwards have significantly played better in their own end. Like Auston Matthews' goal against Washington, it's a perfect example. The guy gets back, gets low enough to make a great play on a pass across the crease, and then boots it up the ice. Connor Timmins finds him and he scores. Like that's the perfect example. Even though Auston Matthews is catching a little flack for not scoring the way he was, you look at a play like that and you're like, if you got to sacrifice a goal or two for him to help the Leafs not give up a goal, then there you go. That's the 200-foot player you're looking for.
William Nylander as well in his own end has been fantastic.
Yeah. I think for wingers too, it's just all about effort. Like getting back is about just, you got to get on your horse and get back. And there's you could see him. You could see him busting his ass back up the ice, and that's what you need. It's been way better. Everybody's noticing it, including Johnny, and it's true. They have been playing a lot better.
Listen, I don't care if Auston Matthews doesn't score a goal again for the rest of this year, as long as he gets one when it counts.
You're right.
I'm done with the what's wrong with Matthews. I personally don't think he's fully healthy. I think he's nursing some sort of injury. But at the same time, it's like, I think his 200-foot game has been amazing, as you just pointed out. And again, I don't care. Like, I honestly don't care. The guy's he won the Calder. He's won the Rocket. He's won the Hart.
He has the exact same amount of points as Mitch Marner.
Yeah.
He's 2 less goals than Willie. He's got 21 assists. He's a plus 14. Like he's got 7. He's been good.
Yeah,
he's been great.
I'm not worrying about the guy at all. Like is that
worth $15 million?
Oh well, that's
a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
But he's been very good.
Do you think? Here's a hot take for you. Do you think if because there is a perception, you just read the numbers are good, but there is a perception, which is why we're having this conversation, that he hasn't been as good this year. Do you think that helps the Leafs, or do you think nope, doesn't matter? He's getting 15
I think for him it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think if Michael Bunting didn't have a good year and they wanted to negotiate a contract, I think that helps them. But for Auston Matthews, I don't think it matters.
No, he's getting 15.
I don't think it matters at all.
And God forbid somebody else gives it to him, because you will. This podcast is officially.
No.
Yeah.
No
Kipper
contract conversations on this podcast.
Kipper wrote an article
this
week, and I'm talking about William Nylander's next contract and like the ripple, because he's coming up too, and the ripple effect that's going to have on the cap. And people, man, did that guy take some heat.
Well, if you cover this team every day like he does, like you gotta you can't just constantly talk about.
That's I agree with you, man.
Like it's just like the guy just had to. He wrote an article. He found something that could be interesting,
dude,
and he wrote it.
Dude, the Sam touched on Wednesday when he said like, "Good for you, nerd." Like there is a segment of this fan base who is bordering on toxic. If you say anything negative at all, they attack you.
Yeah.
And it's toxic. Like it's like I watch some of these guys on Twitter, and I'm just like, your whole life is picking fights with people because they said something that you don't like or disagree with about your favorite hockey team.
Yeah, it gets really nasty.
It does, man. It's not like, it's like, everybody relax, like calm down. Like, listen, if someone says some idiotic take, I'm the first one to, in my head, be like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
But like, am I gonna like go to war with somebody over it? No. Like, relax. I think the consensus is, and anyone who is like doubling, tripling down on the negative takes is just being a troll. So just let it go. I think the consensus amongst the fan base is this is a good hockey team.
Yeah.
And as long as they, like, right off the top, I was like, they've lost 2 in a row, but we're not going to come on here and rant and rave, because I don't think they were too bad in either one of those games.
No. And then, I don't know, Kiprios was just trying to find an interesting take on an article he was writing. And he's not wrong. Like, he's right. It's gonna, like, they have a lot of, like, you could always look into the future and forecast problems like that. It's just, I just, for me as a fan, I just don't want to think about it right now, you know? And I think that's where I think the rational people were saying that, being like, yeah, this makes sense, but that's something I don't want to think about right now. I just want to think about them committing to better team defense and their goaltending being as good as possible. We've had so much contract talk with this hockey team that it's nice to take a little break from that right now.
And guess what, pal? As soon as this team's season is over, whether that's in the first round, second round, third round, cup final, whatever, it's going to be it's going to go to a level that we've never seen it.
Yeah.
If Auston Matthews does not sign a contract extension on July 1st this year,
he won't.
Yeah, I don't think he will either.
He won't.
I don't
He's
think
going to free agency. I'm telling you.
Yep.
I think he will go to free agency.
I think and as much as it's going to make all of us ill to going through that process, I agree with you. I think he's a new age kind of player that's going to do things that way. And to be honest, I think this league needs that. This league is boring. This is such a boring league.
Yeah.
The salary cap has screwed everything up. Nobody makes trades. It's like the playoff format is horrendous. Like, it's just the best player in the world is playing on a crappy team.
With a crappy goaltender.
Yeah, I had to get that one in there. Sorry, Oilers fans. It's just, So as much as Matthews, and I will be sick to my stomach. Like you and I joke all the time that if he leaves, kiss the Talking Buds Leaf show goodbye. We're not doing this anymore. Like, but I do think it's good for the league to have that kind of like NBA style drama. It's just this league is. People come up and they try and talk hockey with me, obviously, because like we do this and everything. And I just have such a hard time talking about this league. I think this league is so, it could be so much more entertaining. It could be so much more interesting. Like if you look at the NFL and the NBA, there are people who will tell you that they enjoy the off season more than the actual season because there's so much going on. The salary cap in the NHL has ruined that. Yeah. Like that's why it's like I feel bad for some of these, as much as the guys who are the insiders get a hard time, right? I feel bad for these guys. Like what do they have to report on? This league does nothing. Nothing exciting happens.
No.
It's brutal.
Anyway, I think it's a good way to cut her off there.
All right. Well, we're not going to be putting out as much over the next week, obviously, because it's Christmas, but we will be back. So
it's Christmas.
If you would like to be featured on The Pulse, hit us up in the comments or on our Instagram, and we'd love to have you on. Huge thank you to Johnny Green for submitting that video today. All right.
Good guy.
Thanks very much.
Nice end. This is
Yeah,
a disaster.
Jesus. Yeah, I know.
We gotta just get out of here.
Sometimes when I'm doing these transitions, I do it so cleanly, and then there's this one where it's like I am speaking while I'm trying to formulate what I'm going to say next, and then I say what I just said.
You're turning a double play before you even made the first out at second base.
Thanks very much for checking us out, everybody. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button below.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
We really appreciate it. We're going to get out of here now before I screw this up again. See you.